Not just for fun, but you did it for a good reason.
We did. It was for Capital Radio's Help a London Child. We had 5 hit singles. We raised over 300 grand, and it was for, as DJ said in those days, charity with a D.
Yeah.
Charity beat. And it was fun to do. Once a year, we got to play at being pop stars, and we made the songs with Stock Aitken Waterman, and we ended up on top of the pops with the Radio 1 guys having to introduce the Capital Radio guys.
Oh, that must have hurt. That must have hurt. That must have hurt. But 300 grand you raised?
Yeah, in total. We had 5 hit singles and an album,
Which 300 grand, and we're going back 30 plus years, kind of real money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So a little bit of embarrassment doesn't matter to raise that sort of money.
I mean, it's so embarrassing for me because at the end of the day, that's how I looked, and that's what the 80s were about. You know, I had this hair, and it's lasted to this day. People still say to me, like, "Oh, you cut your hair?" I go, yeah, just 3 decades ago.
So, Pat, you know, you're from a very, very sort of middle class, quite well-to-do, semi-posh background.
Public school.
Yeah, merchant tailors, public school, and all the rest of it. And then probably, you know, your parents thought you're going to go and become a stockbroker or a lawyer or a doctor or, you know, but no, this obsession with music obviously was there very early.
Yeah, they were right behind me from the word go and kicking me to do it behind me. So they helped me, helped me get my first car, helped me put the records in the boot when I went off to Germany when I was 18 and worked in a club in Germany with a bunch of Schweppes boxes which fitted 7-inch singles really well. I got them from the pub, I think, and someone threw them out and I took them. And then I went in my Cortina and went off to Germany.
So when did this start? Was it very early that music, that you decided this was it?
Yeah, I mean, you hear about people taping the top 40 and getting really annoyed because the DJ keeps coming on and they're waiting with the pause button so they can cut the DJ out. Well, I would do it the other way round and record the DJ and the jingles and the links and cut the songs out because I wanted to hear how people were doing things for the craft that I eventually went on to hone.
So being a DJ, that was it? That was the ambition?
Oh, only that, yeah, always.
And, you know, you work your way through, and actually, in a sense, you get there fairly quickly, don't you? Because, I mean, you know, Radio 1 was just so huge, wasn't it? I mean, the Radio 1 road shows, I mean, it was absolutely blooming enormous. And you managed to get onto Radio 1 at a relatively young age.
20.
Not bad, is it?
Yeah, I covered Steve Wright's show for a week when I was 20. I think I was the youngest ever Radio 1 DJ at the time. And maybe even to this day, I'm not sure. But when you say it was the biggest thing, they didn't have a lot of competition. There wasn't too many commercial radio stations.
Yeah, and then sort of Capital comes along and starts to challenge it, and now with DAB and streaming and all sorts of options. But our biggest radio station, of course, is still Radio 2. Yeah. Radio 2 is massive, and it's had this really extraordinarily loyal audience. You sort of think back through the years of Jimmy Young and Terry Wogan and these giant figures. And kind of Ken Bruce was one of those figures, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Have they made a terrible mistake in retiring him off?
Well, I don't know if they did retire him off. I don't know the whole story as to how he went to Greatest Hits, but he did, and he's done brilliantly today with the new figures that have come out, as has the station. So good for Ken. I guess he wanted to play the sort of songs that he loves and perhaps not play some of the stuff that Radio 2 is now playing, which is
Radio 2, they've moved Steve Wright on. You know, I mean, they've gone for younger presenters, but they're losing a fair bit of market share, aren't they?
Well, today they did, yeah. Who knows? I mean, it's a long end game, isn't it? Every 3 months there's Radar, same as you guys, I guess, for your figures, isn't it? So, you know, you get your TV figures, they get their Radio 1s, and at the moment, today is a good day for Greatest Hits Radio because they did well, and Ken Bruce has obviously helped them get there.
No, listen, I'm in full marks.
Good signing.
No, and Popmaster and all the rest of it. But you had a great career, didn't you, in radio? I mean, Radio 1, you know, Capital, which was a really big, buzzy thing to be part of.
Yeah, when I was on it, it was great because I was Chris Tarrant's warm-up. So every morning I'd get in there, basically, you know. Sorry, when I say I was his warm-up, it was the other way round. But I suddenly realised, how could that be the other way round? How could Chris Tarrant be my warm-up? So I did mid-mornings. He was on before me. He wasn't my warm-up. He was Chris Tarrant.
He did the breakfast, didn't he? And so it was a really big thing.
It just sounds odd saying he was my warm-up, doesn't it?
So how do you make this transition from being, you know, a radio professional, the thing you always wanted to do, and then suddenly it's Funhouse, it's TV, and it's huge, and millions watch it, and it goes on for year after year after year. What was the switch from radio to telly?
Well, it was never really a switch because I carried on doing radio and I'm still doing it to this day. But Funhouse only took me 1 week a year. I was just telling Chloe, your floor manager, because telling her all about it there, she was a bit young to remember it. I only spent 1 week a year going to Scotland, and at STV I would make 7 days worth of shows. 2 shows a day, 2 times 7 is 14. That's 14 weeks worth of shows, and that was it. People think I lived in this funhouse with the twins for like 10 years, but I only spent 10 weeks doing 10 years worth of shows.
But it was a real cult thing for kids, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, very much so. Biggest rated kids TV show I think of all time.
I think it probably is.
Yeah.
And that kind of, I guess there are people of a certain age who see you in the street, and
I get the best thing, Nigel. People will come up to me, I'll be doing a gig, and he'll get this great big bloke come up to me and he'll say, "You Pat?" And I'll go, yeah. He goes, "Just want to say one thing." I go, "Yeah?" He goes, "You made my childhood." And I go, "Wow, that's probably just as well."
Thank God for that. You look at kids' TV today, it's different. It's more fractured, isn't it?
I don't watch it.
No.
I've got grandkids now.
Yeah, but it is more fractured, isn't it? There are so many more different things we can turn on and different channels.
I mean, look, the reason why we probably did so well is when I was on Funhouse, there was 4 channels, and now there's 400.
Yeah, I mean, name your number.
Yeah.
And it's funny, isn't it? I mean, television is changing with streaming and all the choice. The thing that amazes me is kind of the oldest medium of this, radio. The appeal of radio never seems to go away.
Very personable, very one-to-one. You never go on the radio and say, "Hi, everybody, how you doing?" You say, "Hey, how are you?" And you talk to that one person who's either in the bath or in the gym or wherever they are, and that's your person that you've got in your head, and that's the person you're talking to, like now.
This was the famous Wogan quote, wasn't it? I think Parkinson said to him, you know, "Terry, you've got, is it 8 million or 9 million?"
Oh, he had more.
And it was huge numbers he had.
16 or something.
I mean, unbelievable. And, you know, Wogan said, "Well, actually, I've only got one listener."
Yeah. His wife.
And that was the idea.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's plane is landing. We'll show you a couple of quick clips. So there, in comes the Trump plane. He's back in Washington, D.C. Interestingly, only the second time that he's been back in the American capital since he left the presidency. So all that drama is going to unfold in an hour and 10 minutes' time when he appears in court, and you can get all of that live with Dan Wootton and some really, really great guests.
I know that's quite serious and everything that you're talking about, and this is a news channel, but it did remind me of Alan Partridge there, because she suddenly went from talking about stuff with me, and he went, "Just got this in. Roger Moore is on the roundabout on the North Circular."
Well, my kids take the mickey out of me for Alan Partridge, so thank you. So what happened to the mullet? Come on.
Well, it was getting a bit long, and I thought I'd give the girls a chance, so I cut it off. Now it's quite sensible now, isn't it? Quite sensible.
How long did you have the mullet?
Too long, but not so long that, you know, there isn't a calendar coming out at Christmas.
Really?
Yeah. I'm in the world's greatest mullet calendar as we speak, but now they're going to do my own one.
Wow, well, there you are. You never seem to stop, Pat. Now, you've been working recently a bit at Greatest Hits, which we talked about a moment ago.
I did, for 4 years since it started.
Yeah, and it's going pretty well, isn't it, as you say?
The station's fantastic. As you say, today with their figures, and Ken Bruce has made it better than ever, yeah.
Now, you got into a bit of trouble lately. That's what the newspapers told me. You told a joke.
Okay.
You told a joke at an event and people took offence. Do we take offence too easily these days?
I don't know. I think it's up to the individual as to who takes offence to what one says or what one even thinks these days about saying. But for me, yeah, you know, I just do my job. I get out there and do what I do and try not to upset anybody. So I hope I didn't.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, causing offence is really, really easy. So, Pat, what is next? Are you just going to go on doing what you've done forever?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, I look at someone like Tony Blackburn, who's a good mate of mine, and me and Tony, we have breakfast together every couple of weeks, and he's still going, and he's 80 now. So I'm going to be 62 this year. So yep. I've got a bit of life left in me, and we'll continue to stroll on. I'm doing so many gigs. Tomorrow night I'm playing the Rewind Festival, the opening party. Saturday I'm in Birmingham, and then I've got gigs in Oslo and Dubai and all over the place.
Oh wow! So you are mega busy.
Oh really? But never been busier actually. Never been busier. Never had more fun and more people saying you made my childhood. So
no, that's really nice. By the way, I've got to confess, I'm a Tony Blackburn fan.
Yeah, who isn't?
I listen to Sounds of the 60s at the weekends.
Yeah, there you go.
And I love it. He's spinning a record from 1964 or 5 and says, well, I remember when I first did this. Yeah. You could be the next Tony Blackburn. Pat, what an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
Cheers. Have you on Talking Pints. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Indeed.